Hello, dear learners, and welcome back to the JISH Learn English Podcast. I'm Shaylin, and I'm truly happy to have you here with me today. Today, we will learn to answer one of the most common questions in English. Where do you live? Most students just answer with one word, like London or New York, but that stops the conversation. To sound fluent, you need to be able to describe the location, use the right prepositions like in, on, and at. Here is our plan for this video. First, we will listen to a quick conversation between Mark and Sarah. Second, I will break down the vocabulary, phrases, and sentence structures they use. Third, we will practice speaking together with a shadowing exercise. And finally, we will play a game where you take part in the conversation with Mark. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss any episodes. And please leave a comment. I really love reading your feedback, your suggestions, or just knowing where you are watching from. All right, let's jump right in. Imagine Mark and Sarah are meeting at a friend's party. Listen closely to how they describe their homes.
Hey, Mark, I haven't seen you in ages. How have you been?
Hi, Sarah. I'm doing great. I've actually been really busy with moving.
Oh, really? You finally moved out of that university dorm?
Yes, thank goodness. I couldn't handle the noise anymore. I'm living in a townhouse now.
A townhouse? That sounds fancy. Where is it located?
It's in the suburbs, in a very quiet residential area called Oakwood. It's a bit far, but I really needed the space.
I bet it's peaceful. Is it a big change from the city?
Huge change. I actually have a small garden now. But honestly, I miss the convenience of the city sometimes. What about you? Are you still in your parents' house?
No, I moved out too, but I went the opposite direction. I just rented an apartment right downtown, near the city center.
Oh, wow. Right in the middle of the action. Is it a big place?
Not at all. It's just a small studio, so the bedroom and living room are combined. But I don't mind the sides because I'm hardly ever there.
That makes sense. Is it noisy, though? That was always my problem with the city.
It can be, especially with the traffic. But thankfully, I live on the 12th floor, so the street noise isn't too bad up there. Plus, the view of the skyline is incredible at night.
I can imagine. But wait, isn't that expensive?
It is a bit pricey, but I save money on transportation because everything is within walking distance. I can walk to work in 10 minutes. How is your commute from the suburbs?
It's long. It takes me about 45 minutes to drive in every morning. But honestly, when I drive back and see the trees and the quiet streets, it feels worth it. It really feels like home, you know?
I get that. I think I'm more of a city girl for now, but maybe one day I'll move to the countryside or the suburbs like you.
Well, you should come visit sometime. We can have a barbecue in the garden.
I'd love to, and you should come see my new place. Just don't bring your car. Parking is a nightmare.
All right, so now let's slow down and understand everything we just heard in that conversation between Mark and Sarah. We are going to build your knowledge step by step, starting with the simple words and moving all the way to those tricky grammar rules that even advanced students often forget. Let's start with the most basic concept, which is actually one of the most confusing parts for English learners. We need to clear up the difference between a house and a home. You might think these two words mean the exact same thing, but in English, they have a very distinct feeling. Think of it this way. A house is a physical thing. It is an object. It is made of bricks, wood, concrete, and glass. You can touch a house, you can paint a house, you can buy or sell a house. When Mark said, "I'm living in a house now," he was describing the physical structure he lives in. He was telling us about the building. But a home? Home is completely different. Home is an emotional concept. It refers to the place where you live and feel comfortable. It is where your heart is. It is where you feel safe. That is why Sarah said, "I'd love to see your new home." She wasn't just talking about the walls or the roof. She was talking about his personal life and his sanctuary. Here is a common mistake I hear all the time, and I want to make sure you never make it. Students often say, "I am going to house." To a native speaker, this sounds incomplete and very strange. Because house is a physical object, you would need to say the house or my house. But with the word home, it is special. You don't need any extra words. You simply say, "I am going home." It's a destination for your heart, not just your body. Now that you understand the difference between the building and the feeling, let's look at the specific names for the types of buildings you might live in. Mark and Sarah mentioned quite a few, so let's visualize them together. One very common type mentioned was a townhouse. Mark lives in one of these. Now close your eyes and imagine a house that is very tall and narrow. Now imagine another house glued to its left side and another house glued to its right side. That is a townhouse. It is attached to neighbors on both sides. These are very popular in cities because they save space. Then we have the most common one for city dwellers, the apartment. If you are in the United Kingdom, you will hear people call this a flat, but here in the US, we say apartment. This is a set of rooms, a bedroom, kitchen, and bathroom, inside a much larger building shared by hundreds of people. Sarah mentioned she lives in a specific kind of apartment called a studio. A studio is interesting because it is small and efficient. In a studio, your bedroom and your living room are actually the same room. There are no walls separating where you sleep and where you watch TV. It's great for one person, but it might be a little too crowded for a family. You might also hear the word condo. A lot of students ask me, "Shaylin, what is the difference between an apartment and a condo?" Visually, they look exactly the same. The difference is money and ownership. Usually, you pay rent for an apartment every month to a landlord, but a condo, you own it. It is your property, just like buying a house, but it's inside a building. And finally, Mark mentioned he used to live in a dorm. This is short for dormitory. If you go to a university, you might live here. It's a building full of shared rooms specifically for students. Now, before we move on, I want to give you a small but very important grammar tip when you use these words. You need to pay attention to the little word, the article, that comes before the noun. Listen to the sound of the word. Since house starts with a hard consonant sound, ha, we say, "I live in a house." But apartment starts with a vowel sound like ah, so we must say, "I live in an apartment." It helps the sentence flow smoothly. So, now you have the building, you are inside, but where is the building located? The location decides the whole vibe or feeling of your life, and we have specific words for each area. Sarah lives downtown, which is also called the city center. I want you to imagine tall skyscrapers, bright lights, busy streets, and lots of taxis. This is the busy heart of the city. It has offices, shops, and restaurants. People who live here usually like excitement and convenience, but they have to deal with a lot of noise. On the other hand, Mark moved to the suburbs. The suburbs are the areas outside the city center. Imagine driving about 30 minutes away from the skyscrapers. The buildings get smaller, you start seeing green grass, driveways, and backyards. This is where you find big houses and families. It is usually much quieter. You might say, "I prefer the suburbs because it is peaceful." Mark also mentioned he lived in a residential area. This is a great phrase to know. It just means a neighborhood that has only houses. You won't find big factories, noisy nightclubs, or huge office towers. It's just for residents, people living their lives.
And if you go even further away, far from the city lights, you reach the countryside. This is where you find nature, farms, and wide open spaces. If you hear cows mooing and birds chirping, you're probably in the countryside. Now, if you want to sound like a native speaker, maybe for a job interview or a professional meeting, I don't always want to say "I live in" every single time. Let me teach you 3 advanced phrases to make your English sound more sophisticated. First, instead of "I live in New York," you can say "I'm currently based in New York." This implies that this is where you are stationed for work or life. Right now. It sounds very modern and professional. Second, when you're describing your building, you can use the phrase "located in." For example, "My building is located in the suburbs." It sounds a bit more formal than just saying "it is in the suburbs." And the third one is my favorite. It's "within walking distance of." This is a beautiful phrase to describe convenience. Instead of using basic words like "it is near the subway," you can say "my home is within walking distance of the subway." It paints a picture that it's so close you don't even need a car. Finally, let's tackle the hardest part of today's lesson. This is the part that makes even advanced speakers nervous. Prepositions. When do we use in, on, or at? To make this easy, I want you to close your eyes and imagine a pyramid, an upside-down pyramid. At the top, it's big and wide. At the bottom, it's a tiny, sharp point. Let's start at the top, the widest part. Here, we use in. Think of in as a container. We use it for cities because cities are big. You are inside the city limits. So you say, "I live in Chicago." We also use it for neighborhoods because you are inside that area. "I live in a quiet neighborhood." And we use it for the building itself because you are inside the walls. "I live in an apartment." Now, let's move down the pyramid. It gets a little narrower. This is for lines and surfaces. Here, we use on. Think of a street. On a map, a street looks like a line. You live on that line. So you say, "I live on Main Street." We never say "in Main Street." This rule also applies to floors. Sarah said she lives on the 12th floor. Why? Because a floor is a surface. You stand on top of it. You don't stand inside it. So a strict rule, never say "in the 2nd floor." Always say "I live on the 2nd floor," or "my apartment is on the top floor." Finally, we reach the very bottom of the pyramid, the tiny sharp point. This is for exact, specific locations. Here, we use at. You use this when you give your exact address to a taxi driver or the postman. If you have the number and the street, it's a specific point on the map. So you say, "I live at 45 Green Street." So, let's review that rule one last time because it's so important. It's in for the city, it's on for the street and the floor, and it's at for the exact address. You have learned so much in just a few minutes. You have moved from simple words to advanced descriptions, and you mastered the logic behind prepositions. Now, the best way to remember this is to use it. So, let's put this into practice immediately. We're going to speak some sentences together. I want you to shadow my tone and pronunciation. Are you ready? I will say a sentence, and then I will leave a quiet space for you to repeat it. Try to copy my speed and my emotion. Let's go. I live in a small apartment in the city center. My studio is small, but it feels very cozy. I live in a quiet neighborhood in the suburbs. My building is located on Main Street.
I live on the 4th floor, so I have a great view. I am currently based in New York for work. It is a bit noisy, but everything is within walking distance. I live in a townhouse with a small garden. My apartment is convenient, but I miss my parents' house. It feels so good to be home. Excellent work! Your pronunciation is getting better and better. Now we are at the final stage of our episode. We are going to take everything you just learned and test it in a real conversation. We are going to do a role play. I want you to imagine you are Sarah. You are at the party. I will play the voice of Mark. When it is your turn, I will show you the text on the screen. Read it aloud to answer. Don't be shy. Speak to the screen.
Hi, Sarah. I'm doing great. I've actually been really busy with moving. Yes, thank goodness. I couldn't handle the noise anymore. I'm living in a townhouse now. It's in the suburbs, in a very quiet residential area called Oakwood. It's a bit far, but I really needed the space. Huge change. I actually have a small garden now. But honestly, I miss the convenience of the city sometimes. What about you? Are you still in your parents' house? Oh, wow, right in the middle of the action. Is it a big place? That makes sense. Is it noisy, though? That was always my problem with the city. I can imagine. But wait, isn't that expensive? It's long. It takes me about 45 minutes to drive in every morning. But honestly, when I drive back and see the trees and the quiet streets, it feels worth it. It really feels like home, you know? Well, you should come visit sometime. We can have a barbecue in the garden.
Wow, that was fantastic. How did it feel to step into Sarah's shoes? I hope you felt a little more confident speaking out loud. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be brave enough to try. And today, you did exactly that. Let's quickly recap what we achieved in this episode. You learned the emotional difference between a house and a home. You mastered the vocabulary for different buildings, like studios and townhouses. And most importantly, you conquered the preposition pyramid, knowing exactly when to use in, on, or at. Now I have a small homework assignment for you. I want to know about you. In the comments section below, I want you to write just one sentence describing where you live, using the new vocabulary. Do you live in a busy city center, or are you based in the quiet countryside? I read every single comment, and I can't wait to see your answers. If you found this video helpful, please give it a huge thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss our next lesson, where we will go inside the house to talk about furniture and rooms. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Keep learning, enjoy your English journey, and most importantly, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.